Hello again, it's Cliff here from Down Under. I started doing some filming for a longer term planned video on surface grinding, and I realized I was filming a tiltable vise. I thought, oh, this could be another video to go along with the inclinable fourth axis. We now have an inclinable vise video. Alright, I'll get on with it. This is a handy little tilting base plate that I made for my one of my small vices. Here I'm just tilting it to get the top angle of the punch. I just thought I'd show you this tilting base plate because it's actually really quick and easy to make. All it is a mild steel plate with two side plates, and as long as those side plates are square, are machined square with this bottom edge, then the whole assembly can be snugged up with cap screws, and you don't actually need high precision, you don't need to dowel it, because as long as that's square to the back face and the same on the other side, when you snug up the cap screws it pulls the vise parallel with the base plate. And so it's a very quick and easy little tilting base plate to make if you have a vise something like that with machined flat sides. Here we're sharpening the angle on the top of a larger punch. I'm not sure if I've explained that tilting vise design very well. Let me reiterate it from a slightly different perspective. If you have a vise that is square-sided, and you want to make it tiltable, you don't need to have an elaborate tilting base. You don't need to have precision pivots or doweled blocks. It took me a long time to realize, and I put off making a tilting base plate actually for years, because I just didn't want to spend the time building a precision tilting base plate. And then one day I realized, hold on a minute, you don't actually need all of that accuracy. If the vise is square on the sides, all you need to do is tap some basic holes approximately in the right place at this point on the vise, and then make up some blocks on either side and a steel base plate, and just cap screws from the underneath, and just snug it all up sequentially when you're setting these pivot blocks. Snug up the cap screws from the underneath and snug up these cap screws sequentially, and it all pulls square and parallel relative to the accuracy of the side of the vise. And if the vise is a reasonably accurate vise, you'll have an accurate tilting base plate assembly, and you can then tilt the whole vise up and down just by loosening and tightening these cap screws. So it's such a simple solution. It took me such a long time to realize, but when I use it now, I remember I should have done this years ago. So just looking at the tilting plate from underneath, so it looks like I've used two M8 cap screws there, and they're just clearance fits to allow floating alignment as you snug them up, and M10 caps there on the side, and I've put them in a place on the side of the vise away from the high stress area here. When you tighten it up, the casting's subject to quite a bit of stress there. You wouldn't want to put the hole close to that internal corner, but further away in a lower stress area. Yeah, that's just fully explaining it. So if you've got a vise that's got square sides, you can quite easily convert it to a tilting vise via this method. Time for a cup of coffee and a browse of the local engineering supply sales brochure. But I'm just looking at Tormark vices online, see if this is applicable to you guys with Tormark vices, and I see that the 5-inch and the 4-inch vices both have ground sides. So this is quite an ideal type of vise to fit to a tiltable base. If you can see the cursor there, I'll zoom in and try not to knock my coffee over. Yeah, you can see the cursor there. So I wouldn't drill the hole in the tapped hole in the highly stressed area here, but rather more down here, away from the highly stressed area, if you're doing heavy machining and tightening it up really, really firmly. You might think, oh, is it really well gripped enough? Here's another page on toolmakers vices. Is it really gripped enough? Would I need to put straps on it to hold it for heavy machining? Well, don't forget, when you're tightening up those 10mm caps, they're over a big surface area of those side plates. That would hold pretty heavy machining, but you could fit strap plates, slotted strap plates like that if you were doing really massive machining. But often when you're tilting your work, you want it for drilling holes at an angle and that type of thing on a mill, which is pretty lightly loaded anyway. Just showing the construction up close again. So I've got M8 caps here, so that's about 5/16 in imperial, isn't it? And M10 caps here, what's that, about 3/8 in imperial. Just some dimensions. The side plates are about 19-20mm thick, or about 3/4 of an inch, and that way they are 45mm, just under 2 inches, and about 65 high. And the base plate, I've used a bit of about 15mm mild steel plate, but I mean, this can all be scaled up or down to suit the size of your vise. This vise is about 110mm vise, just to give you an idea of proportions anyway. If you mount the vise a little bit off the deck here, then you can tilt it the other way as well, in this direction, for very small angles, and that keeps the profile really low. Thanks for watching, guys.